Howdy again. We just had the economy stream yesterday, and being that I've had a lot of experience with free-to-play, I thought maybe my 2 cents would be valuable. I'm gonna try and cut this down and keep it brief, and keep it segmented out. So if you want to just skip ahead, the timestamps should be in the description below. Today, I plan to cover a little bit about myself, numbers, like by the numbers, how to play Magic as a free-to-play player. And I'll extrapolate from that data set what Wizards is telling to free-to-play players. Ignore everything they say, just look at data and see what they're telling us. I advise everyone to do that in their life. Completely ignore anything everyone says to you. Look at what they do, and that will be an accurate judgment of a person's character and their intentions. Yeah, we'll draw some conclusions from our data, and I've actually got two what I think are somewhat elegant solutions. A little about me, my history. I've been a free-to-play Magic player for a while. I have a video catalog of data if you want to go look at it. It's mostly me talking about life and then streaking wins in standard event. Those are available on my YouTube channel if you want to check those out. The point is, I've got a lot of experience with it. I'm an above average player. I play by the numbers. I'm probably actually a good representative sample, which is why my opinion matters. Okay, so here we are. This is my spreadsheet. I've borrowed this spreadsheet from Hello Good Game, and I'm not sure if he borrowed it from somewhere else. And I've made a lot of changes on my own. The important thing right here are these three data points: the net gold per hour, the hours per premier draft, and the hours per quick draft. So generally people tell you, oh, hey, just do standard event until you can draft. Well, if you're just doing standard event until you can draft, for a quick draft, it's going to take you 18 hours. That's 18 hours of solid grinding. And that is being a good player. So I'm talking like 67% win rate at 5 minutes and 50 seconds per game. That's why I have mono white. That's why I've built mono white, because by the numbers, it is the most net gold per hour. I play this deck because the balance between speed and efficiency. I think it's very important to keep that balance maintained, right? You want to be maximizing your net gold per hour. From a quick draft, you're looking at 1, maybe 2 packs. So you're looking at a third of a card per, let's say you're playing 9 hours a day. So you're playing it more than a full-time job without lunch breaks or any breaks. This is just straight up grinding. It's going to take you, let's say 9 hours a day on 2.5 days a week. You're going to end up with, you're looking at roughly 60%, 61% of a wild card grinding full-time per week. If you play Magic like a full-time job, you can maybe get 1 wild card in a week. I'm not including the rares and mythics you get for drafting, or the ones you get out of your draft, because they're variable. You can't pick them. So in terms of I'm picking a card, maybe per week you get 1. Maybe. That's, of course, not factoring in other rewards, which I think are the main reward structure for Magic. What you end up doing, and what actually ends up being the model for how you play Magic the Gathering, if you're a free-to-play player, is you log in, you do your daily quests, and you log out. Because this is not worth it. Not even close. There's no reason to do that. If we go back here, and we assume that we're getting, we're going to round up to 1 because we're being generous. We're assuming 1 wild card per week, which you probably get more than that, or around that rate, maybe 1.5. To build a deck, let's just look. We're going to look at just the deck I'm running right now. We're looking at 37 rares per deck. So 37 divided by, you're looking at about 24 weeks to build one deck. Yeah, set releases happen 3 to 4 times per year, so you're looking at not building a deck before it's obsolete. Now, obviously, this is an unfair position, right? Because you can buy in as things rotate. But if you're a free-to-play player, if you're just picking up Magic, you're looking at half a year to build one deck. Your first deck, half a year. At that point, upgrading it per set, if it doesn't get completely blown out of the meta by another deck, which happens all the frickin' time, like a rotation happens and the deck's just not good anymore, like what happened with Mono Red. So you're looking at half a year, roughly, for building out a single deck, and you can probably keep that deck up to date just playing casually, but getting your buy-in is half a year. If you're an average player, with codes and with reward tracks and whatnot, it's probably less than that. From there, you can the reward rate is such that you can probably keep that deck current through the format and then upgrade it in the time that the next format happens. You'll be playing a slightly obsolete version of the deck. It might be good, it might not, but that's what you're going to be playing. So how did I come to these numbers? I just pulled them from my own events. So if you look at my constructed event win rate for this this season, this is where it's at. Your average player is probably not going to have this much luck. So this number is most likely going to be lower for a normal player, and especially someone just starting out. You're not going to be doing that. So you also have the gains from the daily quests and the daily wins that you can factor in here, which are a much better return on your time investment. Ideally, you want to be completing those as you go along and just do your... What I like to do is I like to do one standard event run per day, and then when I get 5,000 gold, I will do a quick draft. And I know the rate on that isn't quite as good as a premier draft, but going 0-3 in a quick draft versus going 0-3 in a premier draft, there's a hell of an emotional difference there. So I stick with quick draft, and it requires learning more formats, but not that big of a deal. That said, I've got a 60% win rate, which isn't terrible, but I'm still negative for net gems. Draft is a format with a matchmaking rating. So that 60% win rate should drop to 50% over time because there's an actual matchmaking rating. So this will get significantly worse, right? So if you want to just do drafts, maybe you can play for 2 or 3 drafts. Like right now, I'm saving up to buy the Mastery Pass because the Mastery Pass is a good value. That's something that I think is worth buying. If I wasn't a free-to-play player, this would be my first buy, right? Not plus 10 levels, just this. I think that would be reasonable. Like, look at all this stuff you get. It's good. It's worth it. You get a return on your gems. You get a bunch of packs, draft token, gold, mythics. I actually did the math in a separate spreadsheet for a different season, and I think if you hit like level 29 was the break point. It probably hasn't changed that much, but fully completing the Mastery Pass is worth the gems you spend on it, 100%. So that's what I'm saving up for. Maybe this number could be slightly better if I wasn't constantly saving for Mastery Passes and then buying them. That's the loop I'm on, and it's probably the loop the average player is on. You're probably looking at being able to play one deck. As a free-to-play player, you get one deck that you can keep up to date. We've looked at the numbers. We've extrapolated that, yeah, we're playing one deck. That's all we can build before a set rotation happens, and we have to revise it, right? So pick one deck, you play that deck. That's it. Yesterday in the stream, they were talking about a new model for standard event. And it's my belief that adding a matchmaking rating to standard event and changing the reward structure, the intention is to bring it in line with draft. So you're not going to be playing event forever. All of this profitable thing here, yeah, it's going to be gone because it's going to look more like this. This is how the reward distribution is going to work. So being a player that can go infinite in standard event, they're going to get rid of that because they're going to add a matchmaking rating to it. So this is probably a more realistic expectation. And I expect that the reward structure will change to be more like draft. So 60%, which is insane, right? For something with matchmaking rating, your normal distribution is probably going to look more like this because it will eventually match you with people of equal skill. So that's already negative, but then they're going to change the reward structure. So even going with a 60% win rate, you're still going to be shoveling money in, right? Like this is what that would look like. So I don't think the standard event model is built for people like me. I think it's there to give players incentive to spend gems on these queues so that they can enter and have a more authentic play experience. These changes, I don't think will speed up progression. They're going to split our community even further, right? Because instead of what I do, which is, oh yeah, I'll just hop on and farm standard event because I'm profitable in it until I can do a draft, is going to be, well, I'm going to hop on and either do a draft or a standard event, which sucks because I enjoy doing drafts and I enjoy playing standard event, and losing the ability to do one of those things is objectively worse for me. But also I understand as a free-to-play player there are certain concessions I'm going to have to make, and choosing one or the other seems like a reasonable concession to make. I'm not going to be upset by that. What I am upset by is this number right here, right? This number right here is insulting. I could have spent money on this game, and I'm just not shoveling more money to be able to play drafts. Like your average player with a decent deck is still spending 18 hours if they're grinding, not if they're taking rewards on average, to do a quick draft. That's insane. And changing that to be worse, I don't think it's in the best interest of Magic the Gathering. So this, to me, says go play Warframe, right? It says go play something else. It says we're not interested in you playing our game after you've completed your daily rewards. Got them? Scoop. Don't sit around and try and grind standard events because 18 hours from now, if you go hardcore and really stress out about it, you're going to be able to do a draft and get a pack and a half on average and 509 gems. Like that's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of 18 hours of your life. Go do something else. That's what the game is telling you. Go do it. Another artifact of this whole pick a deck thing is if you're playing efficiently, you're playing mono white, right? Like I would love to play something other than mono white, but I can't build something other than mono white because I'm free to play. So the treadmill I'm on means I get to play one deck. So I have to build mono white because it's so much more efficient than anything else I do. So the ladder is full of mono white, and that's by design. The ladder being full of this deck is because the reward structure is so like my throat right now, dry. I think if people had the option to, I know I would. If I could build like a Runes deck or a Hinata deck or an Angels deck, I would, right? It would be fun to play something other than mono white because mono white, while efficient, isn't terribly complex, which doesn't make for a lot of fun decisions, and B, everyone else is playing it. I don't want to play something that is getting targeted. I would like to play something creative. I would like to be able to express myself. But as a free-to-play player, I can't do that. I'll never be able to do that. And that's what the data tells us. This is not how I feel about it. Like, I've done this, and you can see I've run the numbers. That's what the data tells you. So ladder is largely predominated by mono white decks because that's all free-to-play players can build. I don't think that's particularly good for the game. I do think there are changes that are on the table from both sides that would really, really, really help to solve most, if not all, of these problems. So earlier I mentioned that we only get one deck, right? We get one. During the economy stream, it was mentioned that including the rare lands in the starter decks is something that could be on the table. I think that's a very good idea for two reasons. One, the starter decks, even if you include the rare lands in them, aren't good. Two, it gives people the option to actually branch out and play something other than mono white. The reason that my Hinata list isn't good, the reason that my runes list isn't good, the reason that it's so hard to change lanes on this one deck is because I don't have lands, right? Like, buying lands doesn't feel good, but I need them, but also I don't have them. So I can't even consider changing lanes. You put the dual lands in there, you give people a decent starting deck, and maybe it brings it up to 50-51% win rate. They're still not going to be playing that forever, and it makes it possible for anyone to change lanes later. So I think that would be a good change to include the rare, dual, untapped lands in the starter deck, specifically those things. It doesn't pigeonhole everyone into one or two decks. You allow for some space, right? And I think that being on the table is a very, very good, elegant solution. The second one, I think, would be a good faith thing to do for the community, and it was also mentioned as being something that could be a tabled option, would be to increase the reward track rate that we earn wildcards at by a factor of 2. So it's 3 packs per wildcard instead of 6. This, A, brings us in line with competitors. B, it should give a free-to-play player the time to finish more than one deck. They're not going to have every deck. I'm not saying let's give them every deck. I'm saying let's give them 2 instead of 1. I don't know. It seems like a good idea to me. That's pretty much all I had to say. I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Adios.